What is going on, everybody? It is Joe here with the Ann Arbor Ampharos and the NPBA Week 5 Team Builder. This week, I'm facing Coach Joshua, and I believe his team name is actually not in his logo. I think it's something like the Drampablades, something like that. I could be completely wrong. Sorry about that, Joshua, if you're watching this. He can correct me in the comments. But regardless, this guy's team is currently undefeated, I believe. He may have one loss. He's either 4-0 or 3-1, and he is playing very well right now. He just had a sweep last week with his Galarian Rapidash. And overall, this is definitely a scary team. But I actually think, in terms of matchups, this is probably a little bit in my favor. Definitely not the worst one. So, let's get right into his team. First off, he has Mega Gallade. This is a huge threat this week, as it always is. 165 base attack, 110 speed, with pretty much unlimited coverage, bulk up, and Swords Dance. This is a nearly impossible Pokemon to switch into. I've only really have one real hard answer to it this week, though I do have a few other things that can help it out. So Victini is my only real switch into it. And everything else on my team can deal damage back to it, but can't really take hits. So, Mega Gallade, I feel like I'm out of breath right now. Sorry if I'm sounding weird. But Mega Gallade definitely coming this week, unless he really fears the Victini. And it's very strong against my team, as it always is. Next up, Landorus Therian form. It's a good Stealth Rocker, Choice Scarf, Intimidate, U-Turn, Earthquake, Knockoff. Gets Swords Dance, gets Rock Polish. Let's see. Also get Defog. So, Lando, honestly, I think it's probably going to be a Scarfer this week. It's a pretty good answer to physical Victini. Victini does get Glaciate, but Glaciate's a really weak move, and it doesn't even kill Landorus, so being able to intimidate a lot of my Pokemon is going to be pretty annoying. This is his main answer to Halucha this week, and gotta watch out for it. That said, I do have 2 flying types, so like I'm not super scared of just like Earthquake spam, you know? My team is definitely not weak to ground. I mean, obviously I have stuff that's weak to ground, but I also have a bunch of immunities to ground, so I do expect to see the Landers this week. It probably will be either a Scarfer or a Stealth Rocker, possibly both. So that's Landorus. Next up, we've got Toxapex, everyone's favorite Pokemon. Very annoying to deal with, very annoying to take down. Toxic Stall, Regenerator, Recover, Baneful Bunker. It can do a lot to my team. That said, it's kind of weak in this matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't bring it, just because it's weak to Victini's Zen Headbutt. It's weak to Earthquakes from Garchomp. It's weak to potentially Earthquakes from Celasilla, Electric moves from Manetric. It's not the best matchup for Toxapex, and it doesn't really wall anything besides Tapufini. But you'll see it actually doesn't wall Tapufini based on the set I'm bringing, but it would wall a standard Tapufini. But it's not even amazing against Victini because it can't use Toxic in the Misty terrain, so that's worth noting. Next up, Registeel, super bulky Steel type. Gets Body Press this generation. It has Stealth Rocks, Thunder Wave, Toxic. Usually it's common moves for it. Obviously it's never really a threat because it's not very strong, but it's super tanky. I've got a lot of super effective hits against it, so I'm not too worried about it, but it can wall my team to the extent of like just being a big tanky thing to take hits and spread hazards and spread statuses. Next up, he's got Raikou. 115 base speed with Scald, Aura Sphere, and Electric moves and Shadow Ball. That's pretty much the extent of what this thing does. However, it does its job very well. It also can, of course, run Toxic. It can run Roar. I think it gets Calm Mind. I think this will be Scarfed this week, which is weird, but I think he's going to bring a Scarf Raikou, or he's going to bring a defensive Raikou to deal with my Halucha, because it's his main answer to Halucha other than Landorus. Next up, he's got Blacephalon, 107 base speed, and I think like 154 special attack. It has an insane special attack stat, and it's decently fast. It doesn't have amazing coverage, but everything it does hits very hard. Definitely scared of Blacephalon this week. Gonna have to watch out for it and hope it doesn't just sweep me with like Beast Boost on Choice Scarf, because I have no Ghost answer other than Regigigas, who I am not bringing this week. Next up is Drampa. Pretty interesting normal dragon type. Gets Defog and Roost, as well as just huge coverage, Fire, Ice, Electric, probably some other stuff. Berserk ability can be pretty tough to deal with. If you hit it low, it can pretty much just instantly kill you. So always dangerous to watch out for Drampa, and it's actually not a terrible matchup for it this week because it just has such good coverage. So I could see Drampa coming here. Galarian Rapidash, I believe, is Psychic Fairy type with 105 base speed. I would say I'm not scared of this, but it actually has very good coverage. I believe it gets Swords Dance and Morning Sun, or it gets some healing move. Not 100% sure on that, but he used it to sweep someone last week, so gotta watch out for it. Of course, it's never really like threatening when you see it, but if it gets set up, it can be very annoying. Next is Tangela, very physically tanky grass type, gets Leech Seed, general annoyance to any team facing it. That said, it's not the strongest. Its stats are pretty high with Eviolite, and it does get Synthesis, so something to watch out for, but I think I kind of have some natural coverage for it on my team. Pangoro, this is a big one. I actually think Pangoro, first of all, super strong, Iron Fist. It has like very high attack, I don't know exactly. It's pretty slow. But Dark and Fighting is an amazing stab combo. It gets Bullet Punch and Mach Punch, I think. It gets Poison Jab for that Tapufini, and then just like random other punching moves that aren't that scary. This is one of my more scared of Pokemon this week. Even though like Halucha, Fini should deal with it well, Choice Banded Pangoro with like max speed to outspeed min speed Fini with a Poison Jab, that's going to do a ton of damage, or like a Thunder Punch if it gets Thunder Punch. This is going to be scary to deal with, and I do expect him to bring Pangoro this week. And last, he's got Masquerain. This is a 1-point Sticky Web Pokemon. It should probably have costed more in the draft, but it has Intimidate. It can do pretty much Sticky Webs. That's what it does. Sticky Webs plus Intimidate. So I do have Defog because of that, but I'm not really scared of this thing. If he brings Masquerain, I'll just kill it and take the Sticky Webs and try to get rid of them later. Of course, with my flying types, I'm not even that scared of them, so not a huge deal if he brings that. Without any further ado, I'm going to get into my team. First off, as always, adding this to the team first time every single week. We got Victini with a Choice Scarf this time. Big surprise there. I've never not run Choice Scarf Victini, if you haven't noticed, but you know, some weeks we will bring some other sets. I definitely have a few in mind, but this one is one of the more interesting ones for sure. Of course, it's got V-Create. I'm going to do a ton of damage to pretty much everything. Zen Headbutt specifically for that Toxapex, though, let me think. I feel like I have Zen Headbutt for something else. Blacephalon as well, if I don't want to drop my stats. And then U-Turn for Momentum, makes it a good lead Pokemon, and of course, Final Gambit is going to make... So Final Gambit, if you don't know what this does, not a very common move, but it's very good on Victini because it has a high HP stat of 100. So what Final Gambit is you lose all your HP, it's like Explosion, and you make your opponent lose that much HP as well. So if you have 350 HP, you will both lose 350 HP, and that's what happens. So it depends on your current HP, not your max HP. So if I'm chipped by Stealth Rocks, it'll only be 75% of my max HP. So I've got a bit of HP investment, but that's just because I have enough speed to outspeed Scarf Lando. Final Gambit is going to be able to KO most things if I'm at full health, just because my HP stat is naturally so high. Base 100 is very high for HP. Most Pokemon don't have that high of an HP stat, so Final Gambit should be able to KO most things, but I'd rather not. I'd rather use my normal moves. It's more like if he gets set up on... I can't even think. Maybe he uses a bunch of bulk ups on something and I can't take it down. Final Gambit's just raw damage, doesn't care about his defenses, so that's going to be pretty nice. I think this will do a lot of damage this week. Definitely one of the most important Pokemon I'm bringing, as it always is. Next up, I've got Garchomp, and this is the return of, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, my specially defensive Garchomp. This one is fully specially defensive, 100%, with leftovers. It's got Stealth Rock, Earthquake, Toxic, and Protect. So this is Toxic Stall Garchomp with Earthquake, and of course Stealth Rocks, because why not? I mean, mainly it's here for Stealth Rocks. You'd be surprised how tanky this thing is. If he has Blacephalon, and it is Choice Specs, Timid Nature, it's not even guaranteed to 3-hit KO with Shadow Ball. If he's Scarfed, it's like a 4 or 5-hit KO. For Raikou, max special attack, Timid Nature. Scald is like a 5 or 6 hit KO. This thing just eats hits. Drampa, yeah, it'll do a lot, but I can probably live 1 hit from Drampa if it's like a super effective move. And again, I have other stuff for Drampa, so this is really my big answer to Raikou and Blacephalon. All I need is Earthquake. His team is... I keep tabbing back and forth. I apologize for that. But his team is extremely weak to ground. You can see Toxapex, Registeel, Raikou, Blacephalon, all weak to Earthquake. So they're all going to take a ton from Earthquake. Even like Toxapex and Registeel at max defense will take a good chunk. Of course, Landorus is going to be immune to it, so we got Toxic for that. It's also good for like the Tangela. That's mainly the other thing it's good for. Other things we're probably just going to use Earthquake though. But this is a nice special wall. Going to be really helpful this week. And I'm hoping the Toxic, I'm also bringing Celasilla, I'll just tell you now. I'm hoping the Toxic can kind of combo with Celasilla also being so tanky. Hopefully that works out. So, third Pokemon this week is definitely a very spicy set. Fully physically defensive Tapufini with leftovers. It's got Defog, Calm Mind, Iron Defense, and Stored Power. So this was a very tough set to make this week because I really wanted Moonblast just in case he brought the Pangoro. But I don't think he'll bring Pangoro. If he brings it, like I was saying earlier, I think he will bring it. Even if he brings it, I'm just going to have to KO it. And like, it's not like he would send in Pangoro into a Fairy type anyway, so it's like I can't be too scared of it. Now, Defog is there because he has webs, and he also has rocks on Lando, and I don't want rocks to be up when I have Victini with Final Gambit, so it's pretty important that I have Defog this week. I only have one other Pokemon I can put it on besides Rapid Spin Kabutops, and Kabutops was not coming this week. The other Pokemon I could add it to would be Halucha, but I figured it probably wasn't the best because it's so frail. It's just like I'm basically sacrificing my Halucha for Defog if I ever use it, so I didn't really want to go for that. Now, Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Stored Power, it's a classic set. Most Pokemon that get Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Stored Power have a Calm Mind, Iron Defense, Stored Power set. And this week is no exception. His only answers to this are going to be Pangoro, which he's not going to expect me to not have a Fairy move, I think. Like, if I haven't revealed Defog yet, he wouldn't send it in. That said, I'm not just going to start setting up Calm Mind, Iron Defense until Pangoro is gone. Also, his other answer would be a specially defensive Registeel. Thankfully, Misty Surge can stop any Toxic Stall, but only for 5 turns. If he goes into Registeel and I notice it's like specially defensive, I'm probably going to have to switch out. That's a bit of an issue, but otherwise, if this thing is set up, I just win the game. He can't do a lot to it. After Tapu Fini, I want to say one more thing. I said it earlier, but Fini can reliably answer Gallade. It was really tough, again, with Moonblast, because Moonblast would just 2-hit KO this thing. But I decided, I think the Stored Power sweeping set is just so threatening to his team. Namely Toxapex, even Landorus. I just had to go for it, so... Unfortunately, no Moonblast this week, but I think this is the best set. So, next up, I've got Halucha. He's making his return from week 1. I didn't use him week 2, 3, or 4. It's definitely hard to get Halucha on the team. Of course, this is an amazing matchup for him, but I want to start using him more because I haven't really utilized him, and he's quite expensive. He's 14 points, so it feels bad not to bring him like at least half the time or 65% of the time, whatever. But I've got a Flying Gem set this week. So Flying Gem, normally it's banned. Most leagues ban gems. I see why. I understand why they're banned. But they're not banned here. I don't think it's worth banning them personally. I'm not going to get into the decision behind that. We are reconsidering them for the next season, but they are legal this season. So I've got Flying Gem Acrobatics, which is the perfect combo with Unburden. Acrobatics is going to be, let's see, 143 base power after that Flying Gem. Of course, Unburden will be active as well. Close Combat is there for Registeel, pretty much. And then Swords Dance is amazing to set up on him. And then U-Turn is so I can lead with this thing and switch out. So this is my most important Pokemon this week. This is my main win condition. And I'm going to go through this set a little bit more in depth. So I got 232 speed with the Jolly Nature. That's going to give me enough speed to outspeed max speed Raikou. This means I can lead Halucha and U-Turn out, go into whatever, pretty much every time, unless he's like scarfed something. This is going to work out. Then, let's go back here. Acrobatics is going to be a 1-hit KO on Gallade, Pangoro. It's actually going to do a ton. I think it probably 1-hit KOs Blacephalon. And then Close Combat. Oh, it's also for like Lando. It's good on Toxapex. And then Close Combat is good for mainly Registeel, also Raikou. And then Drampa is a little added bonus there. So if I use Swords Dance on something like Toxapex or a Registeel, or even a Gallade that I'm threatening out, then I'm at +2. I outspeed everything because of Unburden after I use 1 Acrobatics. And then if I have Unburden active, nothing outspeeds me with Scarf. And if I'm at +2, I pretty much 1-hit KO everything on his team. He's got no real answer to this thing once it's set up. Now, it's going to take some work to get it to set up. I might have to clear the way a bit. I might have to get in a good switch, a good prediction, something like that. But let's say he's like Scarf Lando. I switch it to Scarf Lando and eat an Earth, like, you know, be immune to an Earthquake, and then he has to switch and I get a Swords Dance. I could just win the game right there. So, Halucha, let me get back to it. This is what the team is mainly built around this week. A couple things to note. I really, really wanted to run Misty Seed, but it doesn't make a lot of sense because, first of all, I was considering Defog over U-Turn, but it was just too awkward. Defog on Fini gets rid of Misty Terrain, which means if I go into Fini, and it's setup Fini, which is what it is, the only thing I'm ever going to do with it, unless I'm staying into setup, is just click Defog and leave. Which means the terrain will be gone, so why would I ever go into Fini and then go into Halucha? That's just taking an extra turn to kind of do nothing except get the terrain up. So I figured I might as well just use the Flying Gem and get the move right away. Get the Unburden active right away. If I had another Defogger and I was running, if I was just running like a defensive Fini set with like Moonblast, Surf, and Taunt or something like that, then I think Misty Seed would be a better option, but because it's mainly a Defogger or going to just sit there and set up, I figured Flying Gem is the more reliable choice this week. Next Pokemon, I've got Mega Manetric. So his team caps out at 115 speed on Raikou, which is very nice because modest Mega Manetric only needs 224 speed and it still outspeeds Raikou, which is huge because Modest Nature means Overheat's going to be doing a ton to something like a Landorus. It's going to do it. Thunderbolt's going to do a ton to Gallade. It's going to have no problem dealing with Toxapex. Even against Raikou, Overheat will do a good amount. It'll destroy Registeel. Thunderwave is nice if he's switching around, because if I Thunderwave the Gallade, if I Thunderwave the Blacephalon that's Choice Scarfed, maybe even the Rapidash, they're pretty neutered. Even though I'd rather just Thunderbolt them or Volt Switch on them, it's nice when you don't exactly know what he's going to do. And maybe if like Lando is still around, you don't want to... that's not a good example. Ignore that. But Thunderwave, it's a nice last option. I didn't need it. It's probably not that important. I most of the time just Volt Switch, but it's good to have it there. Being a Modest Nature with Lightning Rod, it has Intimidate mainly. It has Intimidate when it's Mega Evolved. But having Lightning Rod if I switch into a Raikou when I'm not Mega Evolved, and he Volt Switches or whatever, I get a 50% boost to my special attack, which is going to be, of course, multiplied a little bit extra with that Modest Nature. So that's huge. This is going to be hitting super hard if I get a Lightning Rod boost. In fact, if Lando isn't there, this thing could probably sweep his team with a Lightning Rod boost. So, hoping this puts in a lot of work. At worst, it's a Volt Switcher, which is always good, especially when you're Modest Nature. So, I think Mega Manetric has a very good matchup this week. Last up, got Celasilla, and this is just pretty standard set. Max defense, completely defensive Celasilla. This is another answer to Gallade. His only super effective move against it is just going to be like Thunder Punch or Fire Punch, but Thunder Punch is more likely in this matchup. Got Leech Seed, Protect, Air Slash, and Earthquake with leftovers. Earthquake is because, well, I'll go through it a little bit differently. Leech Seed and Protect. This is sort of a bit of a combo with Toxic Protect Garchomp. We're going to hopefully Leech Seed them or Toxic them, and then we have two things that can protect with leftovers and stall them out. Of course, this can just do it on its own with Leech Seed if it wants to. Also, Protect is great for scouting other moves from my opponent. Air Slash is there because it is a 2-hit KO on the Gallade, unless he's like bulky, which I don't expect. And it's there for the Tangela, which would just absorb the Leech Seed otherwise. Last is Earthquake. Sorry, I'm doing this thing again. Almost ended the slideshow on accident. But Earthquake is going to be there for specifically Toxapex and, oh, what's it called? Registeel. They're weak to ground. Raikou as well. Nice for Raikou there. But they're all weak to ground. And even Blacephalon, now that I think about it. So Earthquake is just really good against this team, but mainly against those walls. If I'm sitting in on them and I have a Leech Seed up, Earthquake's still going to chunk them for like, I don't know, 30% or something. So it's nice to have it as just like extra damage. And again, him being decently weak to ground means I'm going to be able to get a little extra value out of that. So, one more time, if you want to see the team, we've got Choice Scarf, Victini, Special Defense, Garchomp, Physically Defensive, Setup, Stored Power, Victini, Flying Gem, Close Combat, Swords Dance, Halucha, Modest, Pivoting, Mega Manetric, and lastly, a Defensive Leech Seed Stalling, Celesteela with Earthquake. I think I've got the win this week. I don't want to go in overconfident, but going back to the big matchup, I think this is going to be in my favor. I think his main threats, Mega Gallade, Blacephalon, even Drampa, a Raikou to a lesser extent, I think I can answer all of them sufficiently. I might not have a ton of answers to all of them, but I think I have it so that I can use my defensive Pokemon and pivot around and get into a more offensive threat and be able to take most of them out, mainly with something like Victini or Halucha. So hoping this works out. I got the battle tomorrow. Not much else to say, so thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the battle. Bye.